Welcome back. Today we're taking a look at EmuDeck running on the ROG Xbox Ally X. Now, for those who don't know, EmuDeck is a tool that simplifies emulator setup, ROM management, and integrates your retro ROMs directly into your Steam library. It can feel a bit overwhelming at first, especially if you never used emulators or EmuDeck before. And in this video, I'll walk you through the full installation and setup process step by step so that you can get everything up and running properly on your ROG Xbox Ally X. Now, EmuDeck will work on other handhelds besides the Xbox version. You can use this on the standard ROG Ally, you can use this on the Steam Deck, or any other Windows-based handheld. However, today I am going to be using this on the Xbox Ally X, so we're going to continue on from here. Now, the first thing you are going to need to do is exit the full screen experience. You're going to want to go ahead and press the Xbox button on your handheld, scroll over to the cogwheel, and then down to exit full screen experience. From here, it should boot you into your desktop. However, sometimes the Xbox app just pops back up, so just go ahead and close that out. From here, we now need to go to our browser of choice. If you've never used the desktop or have installed any other browser, then you're gonna have the Microsoft Edge. However, I'm gonna be using Chrome, should be the exact same process regardless. If you don't know where to find Microsoft Edge, you can just go to your start menu down here. It should either be listed here. If not, go to all and then scroll down to M. And it should be right there, Microsoft Edge. But like I said, I'm going to be using Chrome. So you're going to open up your web browser of choice, and then we're going to Google EmuDeck. I'll have a link in the description down below for the website, if anything. But we're going to go ahead and go to emudeck.com. From here, we're going to click on the download button, and it should bring us to our downloads. If you're using this on the Steam Deck, you're going to use SteamOS. However, if you're using this on a Windows handheld like the ROG Xbox Ally X or any of the Ally handhelds, you're going to want to click on the Windows version. Then press the download for free. From here, we can either drag and drop this to our desktop or hit the little folder icon, and it should bring us to where it's installed. If not, you can always hit the three dots on the side. Should be the same thing for pretty much any web browser. Go to the downloads tab, and then from here, you can find the download location. Once you found your download location, take that and drag it to the desktop. Now we need to just go ahead and start it. Make sure you press run. And you should get a command prompt like this that starts up. It's a script that's going to download and install what you need. You might get a slow DNS detected pop up like this. You can either hit yes or no. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to hit yes. Hit yes again for Windows PowerShell. It's going to install what it needs to install. It's going to install Git first, which is necessary. You might get another pop up like this. Go ahead and press yes. And then from here, sometimes it may hang. So as you see, it says done, and then it might not do anything. If it doesn't do anything for about 30 seconds, then I recommend just going ahead and closing it and then starting it back up again. Click run. And now it's going to say that Git is properly installed, and it's going to continue on to the next part. You can say yes again, say yes again. And as you see here, Git already installed. Now it's downloading EmuDeck. Once it's done, it should launch the EmuDeck setup process. Now, if the installation process did not pop up automatically like it did for me, for some reason it does that sometimes, it may automatically pop up for you, but if not, we're going to have to go to our download folder and find the install file. So we're going to go ahead to our file explorer or to wherever our download folder is. If you don't know how to get there, file explorer is the best way to get to it. So you're going to click on that, and there should be a download folder. Go ahead and click on that, and then we'll have EmuDeck install. Click on that and launch that. Now this is what should have popped up. And if, like I said, if it didn't, then you're just going to have to manually do it yourself. From here, we're just going to wait for it to pretty much do what it has to do in the background. All right, so that first setup took roughly a minute in order to do its thing. But once that's done, you should get this welcome page here. Now we can either do the easy mode or custom mode. Easy mode is, I'm pretty sure, just going to install every emulator, and most people don't want every single emulator. I'm going to be using the custom mode to show you all the different things that you could customize and whatnot. So I'm going to be using that. But if you just want a one-click easy setup, easy mode is the way to go. Like I said, I'm going to be doing custom just to show you all the different options. Give it a second to collect the drive names. Now you can either use a micro SD card, you could use the onboard storage of the handheld, you can use an external hard drive. I myself am going to be using an external hard drive because of all the different ROMs that I have, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, if you forgot to put your hard drive in or your micro SD card into the console like I did, just go ahead and do that right now. Press the back button, hit custom again, and then it should research for your drives. So now I have my drives here. C drive is going to be your main drive. It's the hard drive that's installed in the handheld itself. Obviously, you don't want to click on that if you don't want to use it. So I'm going to be using the D drive, which is my external hard drive. I'm going to click next. And then from here, it's going to ask you to select your device. Now, if you're using Steam Deck, you're obviously going to use Steam Deck or any of these other handhelds if you happen to be using them. As of right now, the software hasn't been updated for the Xbox Ally X. So we can either use just the Asus ROG Ally, which is exactly the same thing. It should be running close to, if not the same exact software as the Xbox version. So we're going to go ahead and click that. So next you're going to have to pick your level integration. So there's two. There's low and then there's highest. Low is just going to install Emulation Station. You're going to be able to launch that and play all your retro games from there. It is going to add a quick shortcut to Steam, so you can actually launch Steam from the Xbox full screen experience and then launch Emulation Station from there, and you could play your games from that. And then there's highest. Highest is Steam ROM Manager. This is going to be a way to add every individual game from your library onto Steam. Now, this is a completely different process. This actually does take a little bit more time. So if you want, I'll find a video. I'll link in the description down below how to use Steam ROM Manager. You can always use it later on as well. This is not a click this now, never get back to it again. So just keep that in mind. From here, we could just pick a theme. You can always change this later on, but there's multiple different themes, and this is what it's going to look like whenever you launch Emulation Station. I believe there's, as you see here, there's like a old school Wii looking one. I believe there's a Nintendo Switch one, and it's just, there's a whole bunch to choose from. You can go ahead and choose whatever you want. I'm going to pick just the art book next style here. Just click on the one that looks the best to you and click next. Now from here, we're going to pick our list of emulators. If you had picked the quick version instead of custom version, and would have installed all of this. Now I don't need all of this, so I'm going to go ahead and uninstall the ones that I don't want. I don't happen to have any GameCube or Wii games, so I'm going to uninstall that. I don't have any Wii U games, so I'm going to remove that. Scum VM. I don't have any PS4 games currently. RetroArch is an all-in-one, so you are going to want to use that, especially for more retro style games like Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, things like that. I don't have any 3DS games, remove that. Metroid the Prime Hack, Arcade, I don't happen to have. PS3, so these are games I'm just going to remove. And then GBA, I actually want that. It is going to tell you, see, RetroArch or standalone emulator. I'm going to use both because sometimes I just want to launch that and I don't want to finick with RetroArch. And then I'm going to go ahead and press next. Now this should say highlighted for the exact same emulators that you chose. And then you have Emulation Station here. You should pretty much just leave this as is, and I'm going to press next from there. Now you can configure autosave for games like Game Boy Advance, Super Nintendo, things that didn't have autosave back in the day. You could either turn this on and it will integrate the autosave feature into that. For me, I'm going to leave this off. You can always go ahead and turn that on. It enables the game state, which will save on exit and automatically load when open again when using RetroArch. So if you want, you could go ahead and use that. Like I said, I'm just going to turn that off. You also have retro achievements. I don't have an account, so I'm not going to sign into this, but if you want, you could go to retroachievements.org. It's a community-led effort to collaborate and create custom-made achievements in emulated classic games. If you want, go to that website, make an account, and then you can earn achievements like you would on Xbox or PlayStation or Steam. I'm going to go ahead and skip that for now. Configure game bezels. So you can either turn that on and off. Certain games, you'll show them listed here. Game Boy Color, Super Nintendo, Sega CD, Sega 32X. It'll give you borders to make it just look a little bit better instead of having black borders. I'm going to leave that on. I actually like that for myself. Click next. And then the aspect ratio for classic Sega games. It's going to show you down here once again, which actually uses. I'm going to use the original 4:3. Click next. Configure aspect ratios for your classic Nintendo games. I actually like this. The real NES resolution. I'm going to go ahead with that. And then for classic 3D games, so Nintendo 64 and Dreamcast, you can either do this or that. And as you see here, it not only just makes it wider, it's actually adding to the image. So that's something to just keep in mind if you want to go ahead and do that. I'm going to use 16:9. Same thing for GameCube games, 16:9. Even though I don't have it selected, it's still going to have that as an option. LCD shader, so you can either have the CRT look or you can have just a clean image. Same thing. And then just go through whatever you want that looks horrible. And then here's your EmuDeck will do. And then it just has what you have installed, what's configured, all the customizations that you made, and now just go ahead and press finished. And now it's going to install the EmuDeck and all the configurations and settings that you've selected. This may take 5 to 10 minutes. So I recommend just going to the bathroom, do what you need to do, let this run, and then I'll be back when mine is done. You may get a pop-up like this. Let's go ahead and press continue. So after about 5 minutes, I got this here, read before continuing. It's designed to work using Steam input. You may need to launch the games using Steam after adding them with Steam ROM Manager. Of course, if you use Steam ROM Manager, then this is for you. If not, you can continue on from here. It's not something you should be concerned about. Press next. Manual copy. You would need to copy your games manually. So you need to take where your ROMs are and add them to the designated folders that it gave you. So just to show you now, I'm going to go ahead and manual copy, open up emulation folder. Where do I copy my games? It's going to tell you where to copy that. It's going to explain it. So for example, GC is Nintendo GameCube. PSX is going to be PlayStation 1. PS2 is going to be PlayStation 2, so on and so forth. GBA, Game Boy Advance, things like that. So we're going to go ahead and then close that. Waited for manual copy. So I'm going to go to where my files are. Now I'm going to show you how to do that. Go to File Explorer. And if you used your internal storage, you're going to go to this PC and you're going to go to the C drive. However, I use an external storage. So I have mine here. Click on that. And you should now have a folder called Emulation. If you use your C drive, it's going to be there. If you use a micro SD card, it's going to be there. Mine is here. Click on that. And then for ROMs, it's going to have every ROM listed. And this is going to be every system. Even if you didn't install the emulator for it, it's still going to be listed here. So like I mentioned before, PSX is PS1. I'm going to go back now. And you're going to add all your ROMs here per folder. So in order to make this a bit easier, I'm going to go back to the File Explorer, right click, and I'm going to open up another folder just so I can copy and paste from one to the next. I'm going to go back to where my ROMs are. I have them here. And I already have mine all set because I copy and pasted to make a duplicate of all the folders and just added to them to make it easier for myself. So just to show you here, GBA, I have all my Game Boy Advance ROMs already in it. If I go down to PSX, which is PlayStation 1, I should have all my PlayStation games already in there. So PSX already have a bunch of my PlayStation games in there. I'm going to go ahead and just copy everything basically to that folder. Now, obviously, wherever your ROMs are, you're going to have to go manually one by one in each folder. But for me, I already have this done. So I'm going to copy this, take all that, put it to the ROMs. And then depending on how many games you have, this can take some time. I'm going to let this go, and then I'm going to continue on once it's finished. So once that's done and all your ROMs are placed in the dedicated folders where exactly where they need to be, next is our BIOS. Now, certain systems are going to require a BIOS. PS1 is for one. You're going to need it for the Nintendo Switch, and other systems may require it. I'm not exactly sure off the top of my head which systems do. PS2, PS3, things like that may require it. In order to find these, just do a quick Google search, PS1 BIOS. It should just pop up. It should be real easy to find. For the Nintendo Switch, you're probably going to look for something like prod keys or firmware. So just look up Nintendo Switch prod keys. It's most likely going to be the first link. They're very easy to look for. Just Google search it. It's not that hard, I promise you. Same thing for ROMs. If you're looking for PS1 ROMs, Google that, PS1 ROMs. It's most likely going to be the first or second link. It's not that difficult to find. Trust me, it's a lot easier than setting up this program. But once you got all that done and set up, you pretty much could continue on with EmuDeck. Now, another thing is, old retro games, pretty much anything before PS1 is not going to need a BIOS. So if you're doing Nintendo 64, Game Boy Advance, if you're doing Sega Genesis, they're not going to need BIOS. You can just run them as is. So just keep that in mind as well. It's more or less for newer consoles past the PS1 generation. So once that's done, waiting for manual copy, go ahead and click next. We added Emulation Station to your Steam library. Click next. It's going to tell you the hotkeys in order to do whatever you need to do. So keep this in mind. Press finished. And then that's pretty much it. Now, what's left? You can either go ahead to the quick settings, and this is where you can configure some of the things that you did before. So if you wanted to change something that you have recently done while going through the setup, you could change that here. If maybe you didn't like something or you want to turn the autosave off or on, you could do that from here. manage emulators. From here, it's going to tell you whether or not an emulator that you have installed has an update. You can either do a update all configurators, or if you wanted to, you can go back and say, hey, maybe I wanted the Dreamcast. You could click on that, install it, or maybe you could go through and be like, nah, I don't want the PlayStation 1. You could go ahead and uninstall that from here. It'll also tell you if the BIOS is missing. So PS1 BIOS is missing, so obviously you need that for that. But if I go to Game Boy Advance, as you see here, no additional BIOS are required. That's another thing right there. It's not going to tell you what the BIOS file's name is. However, it did show you where the BIOS goes. So there's that. And then from over here, you also have Steam ROM Manager. You could click on that and then install it and run it. And then from there, you could do what you need to do in order to add your games to Steam. What Steam ROM Manager does is add every individual ROM to your Steam Manager. So if you wanted to run a specific PS1 game instead of running the entirety of Emulation Station, that's what that does. Like I mentioned before, I'll leave a link in the description down below how to set up Steam ROM Manager, but that's pretty much for that. And then everything else is something you probably don't need to really mess around with. But once you're done, you could go ahead and just close this out. So once everything's done, you could go ahead and start using Emulation Station. However, before you do that, I do recommend you go ahead and restart your handheld, and then it's going to boot you back into the Xbox full screen experience. From here, you could go down to My Games or My Library, and you could go over to My Apps. You could then go ahead and launch Steam, and Emulation Station should be a part of your library now. However, it's not going to be in the list of your games. It's going to be in its own category. So I'm going to show you how to get to that. Now, when you first start Steam, it's not going to pop up here for you. It only did that because I had recently launched it. In order to get to it, you're going to press the back button or B, and then you're going to go to Library, and you're going to go up top here to non-Steam games. And then Emulation Station should be within that list. So go ahead and press that and then press play to start it. Now, when you first start Emulation Station for the first time, it is going to tell you that some things were changed in the back end, and then it's going to ask you to quit and restart it. So all you have to do is just press the quit button and then relaunch Emulation Station, and it should work. Just like that. Now, there are some things that I do recommend you go ahead and mess around with. So for one, as you see here, this is not my theme. This is not the theme I selected, and you're going to notice the same thing for you. So in order to do that, we're going to press the start button or the menu button. We're going to go down to UI settings, and then we're going to go to theme. For you, it may be just set to linear. We're going to go ahead and select the theme that we selected. So mine is Artbook Next, and yours is going to be whatever you picked. And then we're going to go down to back, or we're going to press back, and then it should freeze. So don't get nervous or anything. It should take roughly 30 seconds, and it's going to switch over the entire theme for the emulator itself. And as you see there, mine is now set to what I wanted, and I have all my emulators as well as all the games that I've populated with those folders. So if I go into Super Nintendo Entertainment System, it's going to have all the games I have. And then I could go ahead and start playing those. However, if you wanted to go ahead and have artwork and information on each individual game, you could go to the scraper tool. And from here, you're going to go to screen scraper. You're going to select these games, select all, and then you're going to have scrape these systems. So you're going to go ahead to whatever systems you want to scrape. I'm going to do it for the Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Nintendo Switch. And then I'm going to go down here and I'm going to press back and then press start. Now this is going to take a while, especially if you have a bunch of games like I do. As you see here, it's 3,690, so 3,700 games it's scraping right now. This is going to take some time. This has to do each individual game, but this is what it's going to look like. So for Game Boy games, obviously the artwork isn't going to look that great, but for certain newer games like Game Boy Advance and Nintendo DS, it might have the full artwork for each of those individual games, but it's also going to give you a synopsis of each game, and it's going to make just your overall experience on Emulation Station a lot better. Now, like I said, this is going to take a long time. Actually, it's not 3,700 games, it's 4,779 games. It's 3,700 for just Nintendo Game Boy. So if you have thousands of games like I do, this is going to take some time. If you have a couple of games here and there, obviously just take a couple of minutes. For me, this might take an hour or two to scrape every single game. So if you're looking to do this and you have thousands of games, definitely plug your handheld in, scrape those games, and go to work or something. Go do something else, because this is going to take a hot minute. Other than that, go ahead, feel free to look through the settings. If you happen to mess up the settings too much, you can always go back into EmuDeck. It's going to be an application on your desktop. Go into that, go to Emulation Station within there, and then you can go ahead and just pretty much reset all the configurations for that. So if you happen to have messed up something a little too much, you can do that, and that should revert it back to the way it was. But that's pretty much it for today. If you happen to have any questions, let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe. Check out a couple more of my videos. I'll have the playlist in the description down below. And I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.